The politics, mortal and immortal, out of the way, I think I might as well go on to talk about the other things. I think I'll start with the races, since I was I was talking about gods and demons before. Now, perfectly speaking, the vast majority of the population of the Divine Blood world is human. This isn't like D&D, where you have a kingdom of the elves and you have some human kingdoms and you have got a lot of intermixing where the humans are, but you got hardly any humans where the non-humans are. This isn't like that. There are roughly, this is Earth, 21st century Earth. I don't know how many people we have in real life right now, but in Divine Blood I'm operating on the idea of around 6 billion people. Of those 6 billion, 54 million are psychic or non-human. Out of that 54 million psychics and non-humans, only 3 to 4 million are really non-human. So there are 3 to 4 million non-humans, not including the gods and demons. 3 to 4 million non-humans on Earth. And then when you get into the gods and demons, there's about 500,000 gods and about 500,000 demons. So there's only about 1 million of those. So you have about 5 million sentients who aren't human. And about, see here, 5,995,000,000 sentients that are human, of which 49 million are psychic. So, non-humans form a very small population. I'm putting a lot of them in the summary because, well, that was one of the awards I offered with the first Kickstarter, the one that failed. I offered chance to people to pick races to go into the book, and so I'm putting those in the book. Even though that first Kickstarter failed, I'm still putting those in the book. Plus, I'm putting in some races that I just like. For example, I'm putting in Gorgon because A, it was suggested, and B, I like it. And then there was the Wolfen, that's another one that was suggested. I'm putting in the Succubus because they are important to later parts of the story, and that was one of the ideas I had for one of the introductory campaigns. I'm putting in gods and demons and humans because those are the 3 main races of the novel setting. Those are the ones around which most of the action goes on. I'm pretty much putting in the stuff that got mentioned. I'm putting in Lemurians, which are Lovecraftian deep ones, sort of, just not as icky. I'm putting in Kitsune because one of them was a dead body. Was just a dead body. Was found in the first chapter of the novel. I'm putting in Vampire because there was one in the first chapter of the novel. I'm putting in Therianthrope because they go to school with one. I'm putting in Cheng Xie. I haven't written the stats for them yet, but I'm putting in Cheng Xie because they get mentioned in the debate scene. I mentioned Lian and Nishi, which aren't a species in and of themselves. They're a semi-religious group that drinks blood. That's part of another species, so I put in the she. And I've also had a she show up, though she wasn't identified as such. I've had a she show up in one of the short stories. So, given, and then Gorgons were requested, and then Wolfen were requested. There is a succubus in the stories right now. They don't know what she is. She doesn't know what she is. I'm putting in trolls. I'm putting in dryads because those are going to be important. I'm putting in ghouls to balance out the dryads. The dryads were a invention of the gods. The ghouls are an invention of the demons. I'm putting in trolls to balance out succubus because that's another that's a male-only race versus a female-only race. I'm putting in Seraphim to balance out those as well, since that's a genderless race. What else am I putting in? Kitsune. I'm putting in Kitsune because I like them. I'm putting in the Raven race because I like the idea of winged bird people, though they're mostly human. I'm putting in the Gargoyles because I wanted a sentient race that was not pretty by normal standards and not one of the big powers, but was fairly far advanced as far as researching psychic stuff is. So that's where Gargoyles are in there. I'm putting in the Lemurians because I want to say what the Deep Ones are and why Deep One is a slur. I'm putting in what else? I already mentioned Dryads. Oreads is a type of Dryad, and that's important because there is a character who is an Oread. I'll explain Dryads real quick here. Dryads aren't a race that is born. There is this tree that got produced as a sort of research tool / weapon punishment type thing. And what happens is a person who eats one of the fruits from the this tree gets infected with a parasite of such that pretty much replaces their nervous system. And what this parasite does is it cripples them as far as psychic abilities is concerned, and physical for that matter, because they can't get very strong. The purpose of this is to have pliable subjects for the gods' research into breeding new races based off humans and other things. So it makes a very pretty, ageless woman. It's a damsel in distress bug. That's what it is. It doesn't affect the mind, really. It doesn't affect the wits. But eat it, and your physical capabilities and your psychic capabilities are pretty much gone. On average, Dryads have the strength of a 12-year-old girl. If they really, really work at it, they can get to average adult strength. So, and a lot of the community thinks being a Dryad is a horrible, horrible thing, even though they live forever, or until they're killed. Also, their children tend to be either paragons or monsters. Mostly paragons, but sometimes even as paragons, there's something bad about the mind. So, anyway, that's Dryads. Ghouls aren't a playable race. They're a monster. And what it is it's a demon weapon that it's a moss that infects people and turns them into crazies, like basically zombies, fast zombies, mutated zombie thug things. And that's ghouls. What else is in there? The She are in there, like I said. Seraphim are in there. Because I mentioned them in discussing vampires, not as a vampire, but as being related to the Changxia, the Jurogomu might be in there. But all of these races... Oh, and there's Therianthropes and Wolfen, and Gorgons, because they were requested by a Kickstarter person. And all these races, the ones that have the highest numbers are the Therianthropes, the werewolves. They're not all werewolves. They're all descended from wolves. They're all probably part human, too. They're all descended from wolves. But it's not all of them turn into wolves anymore. They've branched off and become other animals. Genetically, they still are most closely related to wolves. It's just that they're pretty much the ultimate mimics. They've gone on to mimic, some of the families have gone on to mimicking other things besides humans and forgotten to be wolves for generations. But Therianthropes are the most successful for some reason. Oh, in terms of numbers, the She were the most successful minor race in terms of power. They were as powerful as the gods and demons at one point, but there's reasons for that. So, because the Therianthropes get along because pretty much they fit in with humans. They evolved to mimic humans, fit in with the pack, and share in the kill. That's what they do. This is not the crazy werewolf that comes out at the full moon and eats people. That's from curses and such like that, and people who are insane. Therianthropes are basically mimics. They live, work, and relate to humans. That's it. They're very pack-oriented. They tend to be more monogamous than humans are, just instinctively. And even them, as the most successful, there's 200,000 of them. That's it. There's 200,000 in the entire world. There's around 200,000 of them. And they are the most successful, most common of the non-humans. And there's about 5 million out there. If you take away the gods and demons, who would really be the most successful, but they started out as major races. So you could say they're the least successful major races, since there's only a handful of them left compared to humans as the current major race. But there are about 4 million, not including gods and demons, of the non-humans on Earth, and the largest population of any one non-human, counting all over the world, is 200,000, which is not that much. Even though you're more likely to meet a werewolf than you are to meet any other thing, you're not as likely to meet a werewolf as you are to meet something else in Divine Blood. In fact, you're not as likely to meet a seer at five. It's like 600. It's 0.5% of the people in the world. 0.5% of the people in the world are the kinds of shapeshifters, the Therianthropes. And I can't just say werewolves, because werewolves refers to the ability to become an animal. There's lots of things that can be called werewolves, just like there's lots of things that can be called vampires. But Therianthropes are the most common. So 200,000 out of 6 billion people in the world, 200,000 are Therianthropes. And how do you know you're actually talking to a Therianthrope? You might be talking to a human, unless they tell you. Or you see their chi and it's orange, their life force, and it's orange instead of green. Humans have green life force, and I'll get to that in another topic. And other races have other colors. So how do you know you're talking to a Therianthrope and not just a human who can become an animal, who has a talent for that? You don't know. Could be. Anyway, so there are non-humans, and you can play them. You're encouraged to try to play them, but realistically, there's a very small number of them. At the school in Bravura, there used to be 3 non-humans. Oh, actually, 4 non-humans. I forgot Hell. That was Jason. Then there was the Kitsune, who I don't think she got a name because she was dead before she showed up. And then there's Hell, Jason, and then there's the girl who doesn't know she's not human yet. And the Kitsune. There was 4. 4 non-humans in that entire school. And that's a lot. Because, well, Australia has a larger than average population of non-humans because not as much stuff is going on there, considering it's one of the major powers of the world. So, if you're running a campaign and you have 5 players and 6 players and every single one of them is non-human, and they have families in the area, they're like, cops or accountants or whatever. I mean, it doesn't have to be high school. Even the novel isn't all high school. But you have 6 characters who are all non-humans. You're probably in a community area, and I'll get to community later because I'm running out of time. But yeah, they tend to clump actually, so you would have a lot in one area as adverse a lot scattered out. But there are very, very few of them. Very few non-humans. They just fit in. They don't even stand out. They don't do much to stand out with. That's it. Anyway, stopping this because I'm running out of time.